What is happening, y'all? Welcome back to the Media Goose channel. It is I, the Media Goose, your friend Ryan, and the goose is loose, baby. Huh? And I am here today to talk about the most recent episodes of Daredevil Born Again Season 2. They released 2 episodes this week, both of which were a little shorter on time, so it made sense to do 2 at once. I really enjoyed these episodes. I feel like the show is really finding what it wants to be. I feel like it's starting to have more of the elements of the Netflix show. These 2 episodes tapped into the full ensemble of this show and all of the characters and the dynamics that exist between them in such a beautiful way. It started to feel like the Netflix series again, where you're going from these different perspectives of the same experiences, and I thoroughly enjoyed these episodes. The second episode started with Cherry getting carted out from the end of episode 1, and we have Dex stopping at the church that Matt goes to, looking for Matt's mom. He asks for Sister Maggie. That's Matt's mother. So there's a lot of different things that could mean. Dex has often needed a kind of northern star to guide him. It was his love interest first, then it became Wilson Fisk. Is it Daredevil now? Did he go to visit his mother to try to get dirt? Or the actor, Wilson Bethel, he said that there's a bit of a redemption arc for Bullseye this season. So maybe he was there looking for penance, genuinely looking to apologize to her. He brought violence to that church in the season 3 on Netflix when he attempted to kill Karen and actually killed the father, the character that Matt had so much history with. So I think it's more likely that he was actually there looking to apologize. And I'm really interested to see where they go with Bullseye this season, because I think he was one of the best aspects of the Netflix show, and the performance Wilson Bethel gives and the backstory that they gave for the character I really thought was excellent, and I loved what they did with him in Born Again Season 1. So I'm really excited to see Bullseye go from person non grata to maybe a partner. And then we see Fisk training for a fight where he finds out that Dex is back, that Bullseye is back. And I love the effect that Bullseye has on everyone in this show. Vanessa arming herself now because she knows he's back. Wilson, you can tell the legend that Bullseye is. Powell, the head of the AVTF, also being afraid of Bullseye being back. It's awesome that they treat the character this, how do I put it, with reverence, but they're terrified of him. But the impact that his presence has on everyone involved is so incredible. Then we see the Greek restaurant owner being arrested, and we end up going back to Buck and Fisk talking about how Buck thinks that Fisk should reveal Matt is Daredevil, and Fisk, proving once again why he is the Kingpin, he's the person at the top, says, no, I'm not going to make him a sympathetic character. I am going to make Matt Murdock out to be a hero. So he ends up putting out this video about how Matt's been missing. So now people are looking for Daredevil to kill him, and also looking for Matt to bring him back. Even Powell says, I want Matt Murdock in this office and Daredevil's head on a spike or a pike. So that is Kingpin's intent. Now Matt is being pursued on both sides of his life. and it's fantastic. I love the thread of the everybody in Fisk's orbit being afraid of the leak, because more of those videos come out. And as I said, it was very obviously BB doing those videos. I was kind of hoping it was so obvious because it was a misdirect, but no, it was just that obvious. And Sheila and Daniel talking about it. We get Buck and Daniel later in the episode where Daniel reveals that he knows that Buck is MI6, and that kind of impresses Buck. I like that even later when Heather and Buck are at the royal court scene, they talk about all of that, and I just so love the dynamics of Fisk's team. I talked about in the last episode how I thought it was all going to collapse around Fisk. Maybe not in one clean motion, but all of these people were going to be turning. And these two episodes furthered my thesis there. I definitely think everybody is seeing how insane this is getting. And people are going to start looking for their safe ways out. And then Angela is brought back into frame, the niece of the White Tiger. And she's there with her tia, her aunt, and there's the interaction in the store, which feels like a communal scene. And then the AVTF show up, and it's like ice rolling in. And they start throwing people around, and her aunt gets taken away. And at the beginning of the scene, Angela was talking about how she misses Matt and hopes she's okay. And at the end of the scene, she's pressed up against the missing Matt Murdock sign, screaming as police brutality and injustice is enacted on this community. And it shows you the amplifying of stakes in every aspect of the city. Then we get Vanessa and Heather talking at the dinner, and Vanessa looks out like she feels like she's being watched, and she was. Oh, that was so good. Oh my god, the use of Bullseye in this episode. He kills those two AVTF guys in the elevator, and they cloak him in all blue. Anytime they cloak him in that blue, like in Vanessa's dream as well, it's a reflection of Dex's broken mental state. When he's all cloaked in blue like that, it's his psychosis taking over almost, and it's really great stylistically. It feels very much like a comic come to life in a really cool way. And even Kirsten in that same discussion, there's this painting over their shoulder that has two faces. And I really feel like they're continuing to tease that Heather is on the verge of a mental break. And then Angela is back at McDuffie and Murdoch, where she gets the pennant for her uncle's suit. Then we get Daniel and BB having a dinner where it becomes clear Daniel has caught on to the fact that it's BB, and she keeps denying it. She tries to bring up the fact that he must know Fisk is wrong, and he says integrity can have a cost. I am comfortable. Look at my life right now. Look at this penthouse. So they're experiencing a dynamic that is going through a lot of this show. The proximity to power and your reaction to it, and the way it warps your sense of morality. And as that is happening, Fisk and Sheila are having a scene where Fisk again commends Sheila for snitching on Gallo to him like she did. That scene earlier with Fisk and Daniel, and then this scene again, the file of Gallo is left out. It's a clear intimidation tactic. Fisk wanting people to remember what happens when you step out of line. So even Fisk is starting to feel the need to do things like that to reinstate the feeling of his power. And at the end of this episode, it's just incredible. The AVTF attacking Josie's and taking Josie, and Karen takes a hostage. And that's the end of the episode, this cliffhanger. And I thought it was really good. You see that. Also, there's an incredible scene with Fisk and Vanessa in bed, and then Karen and Matt in bed. And there's a lot of mirroring of Fisk and Matt in this show, and this scene was so amazing. Two couples who are so in love with each other, contemplating their futures together in New York, and New York as a home for both of these couples, and what home means from different sides. It's beautifully handled. I really loved that. And then going into that dramatic scene where they get to rest Fisk and Vanessa, but Matt and Karen have to continue fighting. And then to start the next episode, luckily enough, they found an agent who is willing to turn. We're reaching the point of this war where there are people on both sides who, well, really, I should say there are people on Fisk's side of things beginning to realize what they're agreeing to, what they're compliant with, what they're signed up for. And I think the person, the agent there, is meant to represent, even he says, you have to stop Fisk. You're the only one who can. So people are starting to turn to Daredevil as like, we need you. It was like the scene in The Dark Knight with Harvey and Bruce at dinner with Rachel and the ballerina, where he says, who elected the Batman? And Harvey says, we did, when we as a people let filth take over our city. And right now, Matt, Daredevil, this character built from the remains of Hell's Kitchen, is being pushed back towards Fisk. And people are again seeing him as this hope. And he has previously dealt with this, like, feeling of, do I have to kill this person? And to see Matt getting forced back to that is really interesting. Now, we know Matt won't kill Fisk. That's been made very clear. But just to see him pushed back to that. Then we see Red Hook. We see Kirsten getting brought in to talk to Jack Duquesne, the swordsman. And we see, during the Taken, we see how she's blindfolded. And that comes into play later in a really cool way. And we also find out there that Fisk went to Swordsman for a donation, and he said no. So it's not only the vigilantes that he's targeting. Fisk is also targeting people not falling in line with him politically. And we get a scene between Matt and Karen. And they kind of talk about morality again, talking about the Punisher, because where Karen brought that hostage was the Punisher's lair from season 1. And first off, Matt was shredded in this scene. Jesus. They were sure to give you that Marvel shot of Charlie Cox looking ripped. And then we get a scene between the governor and Fisk, and even that's uncomfortable, where the governor is aware of Fisk and all that he represents, but still trying to hold some level of confidence in the same room as that. It's really effective. Then we get to the trial, and Swordsman is on the stand, and he talks about how he was threatened by Fisk, and everything gets steamrolled, and the verdict passes, and he's found guilty of everything. And Kirsten knew it was going to happen. Swordsman knew it was going to happen, because he's the first person being tried under the Safer Streets Act. So, of course, they're going to throw the book at him. And then after that, we get to the royal court scene I talked about earlier. Vanessa tries setting up Heather and Buck and sits them together. And they have a really great conversation together, talking about how they get to watch the royal court of Fisk and Vanessa. and they start describing all the characters in play, and Buck calls Daniel the heir unapparent. So there was also teases of the idea of an heir earlier between Wilson and Vanessa, and there have been roses in this episode. Now, in the comics, Kingpin has a son whose nickname is the Rose, and I'm wondering if they're teasing him getting involved or if Daniel is already that. It's interesting. I think it's going to be interesting to see, because Fisk is clearly interested in an heir. They're doing a lot to make you think it would be Daniel. I kind of think it's a red herring. I think the show is setting us up to assume that will be Daniel. I kind of think Fisk is going to kill Daniel. I think that Daniel will try to sell out BB and say it was her, and maybe Fisk will bring her in and have them both in a room, and they're going to think BB's going to die, but Fisk will choose to kill Daniel because it was his idiocy that caused it. The fact that he let BB get into his laptop. But I don't know, because they haven't done a lot to make me care for BB other than reminding you she's Ben Urich's niece. And I just want more there. It feels like it's too soon to wrap up her story. So, I don't know why, but when the mask came off, I was expecting Mr. Charles. I don't know if he might get involved with BB, or if he already is, or if he's funding her, or if maybe they'll come connected. Mr. Charles also wasn't in these episodes, so there's a lot to be discovered there. And let's see what else we got going on. Kirsten is drinking and drowning her woes after losing the case, and she ends up getting lured back to her office where Daredevil is waiting for her. He's doing a very Batman Begins gruff voice because Kirsten would know him, so he has to be disguised. And she says, well, I was blindfolded, I couldn't see anything. And Matt says, that'll work. So like I said earlier, the fact that she was blindfolded and they showed us all the things she was experiencing otherwise came back, because that's how Matt infiltrates Red Hook to get into the building. And once he's there, he finds the prison, and he starts breaking everybody out. But he also found that watch from episode 1 that he took from the guy and left behind. So all of the weapons from Northern Star and all that, it was still there. And this is where a fight begins, where AVTF people start coming in and attacking, and Daredevil and the Swordsman team up to protect the prisoners. And this was really awesome. Daredevil fighting in a really different way. This sequence so highlighted Matt's heightened senses as a superpower. And really, he uses his environment when he fights. He uses the pipe to let out the smoke to distract them, and he's like sliding on the ground using his baton to like project himself at people. It's awesome. It was really good. And the fight, Swordsman looked awesome as well. And yeah, the fight's awesome. Matt just starts dropping people. Then Karen rolls in with Angela in a big, like, military-sized vehicle and ends up getting away with the prisoners. You see that Angela's there and that she took the pennant, and they show her with a knife to indicate that maybe she slashed those 3 claw marks, but I think she used the pennant and is already the White Tiger and slashed it. I don't think she used her knife. I think that's a little misdirect. But yeah, that whole escape sequence is awesome. Swordsman driving the truck that gets away. It was really great. You get Powell and Fisk checking in again, And based on what happens, Fisk blows up the Northern Star and kills everyone that was there. Earlier in the episode, I don't think I mentioned it, but there's a moment where a bunch of the workers ask Powell for a break, and Fisk is like, hell no, get back to work. Or Powell says, hell no, go get back to work. And at the end of the episode, then, that kind of dangling thread is touched on again, because all the people working there are Mr. Charles people. So of course Fisk was just going to kill them. These aren't Fisk's people. This was always the plan, I bet. He knew he was going to blow up the Northern Star, and that's why he didn't want his men there. That's why he baited Mr. Charles to get his own people there. So I think Mr. Charles is probably going to show up like, hey, Wilson, what the fuck, dude? You killed all my men. And Fisk will probably say, it wasn't me, it was Daredevil. And Mr. Charles will probably be like, I don't buy that crap. I am not some idiot for you to push around. So I really liked these 2 episodes, y'all. I think it was smart to release them back to back together so that we could enjoy them together. These episodes, and I criticized the BB in the streets stuff in the original episode of the season. I thought it was less cartoonish here. It was a little more grounded. And the videos of BB roasting Fisk, I thought were really good as well. I really enjoyed them. I think that I would have enjoyed a misdirect of somebody else being under the mask more than BB, but I think it might still evolve where maybe Mr. Charles and her end up in some kind of agreement together. I don't know. But y'all, I'm really excited. This show is kicking ass, and I'm excited to see where it goes. It feels like everybody around Fisk is slowly realizing the amount of danger they're in, while everybody in Hell's Kitchen and New York is starting to look to become a part of the resistance. So it feels like things are starting to sway the other way, but as that happens, Fisk is going to become more desperate. So who is he going to hurt around him in those moments of desperation? I'm really excited to see, y'all. Let me know what you thought of these episodes down below. The Goose is out. Ha!